Now, just quickly getting back to COVID, you might have noticed the World Health Organization declared the global health emergency on the weekend. They declared it was over. Shouldn't it have apologised for calling it an emergency in the first place?
Oh, look, when we look back through the history of the COVID period, every single thing our health bureaucrats said was wrong. Go through the list. You talk about, it came out of the wild, not from a lab. Wrong. They told us how masks would work. Wrong. They told us that lockdowns were effective. Wrong. They told us remdesivir was needed. Wrong. The PCR tests, we know, overstated the number of people having COVID. You go through the list. Early treatments, they said didn't work, worked. Vitamin D, we now know, is so important to make sure your vitamin D levels don't fall, because that makes you much more vulnerable to COVID. And what did our health bureaucrats and senior politicians do?
Hang on, before you say
lock
that.
Lock everyone in their house.
Well, lock them in the house. But Craig, you're missing the main statistic, and that is the casualty rate. That was overstated too. I mean, it was people dying with COVID, not from it. Was all based on that.
We were told these vaccines were a magic potion that was safe and effective. If you took the shot, you wouldn't catch COVID and you wouldn't get sick. That's what President Biden, from President Biden down, was telling the world. They just got it totally wrong. And now they want greater powers.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. I mean, you know, we saw the draconian tendencies of our rulers and bureaucrats. Are we still vulnerable to this happening again for different reasons?
Look, you made a very good point there earlier. This is why we need not just one Royal Commission, we need several Royal Commissions and investigations into all aspects of COVID, because at the moment we're not learning from the mistakes. There were terrible, tragic mistakes that were made that cost people their lives, that has caused long-term damage to the economy. We've got to learn from all of those things to make sure that we don't do it again. We've got so many people frightened to even admit that a single mistake was made. That just sets us up to repeat these mistakes all over again.
Well, the one way to ensure it doesn't happen again is to cherish our birthright of free speech, Craig.
Correct.
What's the state of free speech in Australia? What's the state of it now?
Well, it's a very dark period of our history. We should be regulating these large social media companies so they, you know, if it's lawful to say on a soapbox in the town square, it should be unlawful for the likes of a YouTube or Facebook or Google to censor it. We've got to get back to where we respect free speech. If we do that, if we had these open debates, we would have maybe been able to avoid a lot of the tragedy of the COVID period. But we had a small group of people that thought they are so much more clever and they are so much more enlightened. They don't have to debate on these subjects, and anyone that disagrees with them, they just throw out the term misinformation, don't even debate them. And again, these people, they were the ones putting out the misinformation. They were the ones that got everything wrong.
Well, what we need are politicians who shout the values of freedom of speech from the rooftops, and thankfully, Craig, you're one of them. I hope to see you back in Parliament one day soon. Craig, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Red. Great to be with you.
That's former federal Liberal MP and outspoken critic of COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates, Craig Kelly.